Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mrs. Freeze, and today we're going to start Chapter 12, Lesson 1, Circumference of Circles. If you have not completed the Circle Lab video with Mrs. Peterson, please do that first because that gives you important information you need to know about circles before you actually learn how to find the circumference and area of circles with the formulas. Well, today we're going to focus on the circumference of circles, and I want to review the parts of a circle before we actually move on to find the circumference of circles. Parts of a circle, remember the radius goes from the center halfway across. So this orange line represents the radius. It's half the diameter. Our diameter goes through the center all the way across the circle. So this red line is the diameter. Circumference is the distance around the circle. So you see that the distance around the circle is represented by this black outline here. That shows you the circumference of this circle. And then the area of a circle is the space that is inside the circle. That's all of this purple color. But more specifically, the area is the number of square units that would fit inside of this circle. Now, we use pi when we are finding the circumference of a circle, and no, we're not talking about a pie that you eat. What is pi? Pi, this is how you spell it, this is the symbol for it, is 3.14. It's actually an irrational number that goes on forever, but we round it to 3.14 so that we can use it to find the area and circumference of circles. But if you can see that this pi, Piper, is being followed by the number pi, and the number pi just keeps going on and on and on. It's a non-repeating decimal that never terminates and never repeats, so it's an irrational number. The formula for finding the circumference of a circle is the diameter, that's the line that goes all the way across, times pi. It can be written in word form, and here is C for circumference equals the diameter times pi, that's our symbol for pi. But remember that 2 radii, you have to multiply your radius times 2 to get the diameter, so 2 radii times pi would also be a formula you could see for circumference. Let's find the circumference of some circles. I've got both formulas here because depending on what they give me, I'm going to choose the formula that I would be best for what I'm given in my problem. So I've got a circle here, and I've got a line that goes all the way across the circle through the center, and they tell me that that's 8. I know that this 8 inches represents the entire line because it's right above the center. They've written it right above the center. Well, I know that that is the diameter, right? It goes all the way across the circle through the center. That means I'm going to use this formula right here. So my circumference is my diameter, which is 8, times pi. Now, I have inches for my unit. I can leave my answer like this. It's called in terms of pi. And sometimes you'll be asked to answer in terms of pi, so we need to be practicing that. This is 8 pi inches. That is a valid way to answer this problem. But I also need to be able to calculate my answer. I have 8 times pi, okay? That's 8 times 3.14, and that would give me the calculated answer, 8 times 3.14, and that is 25 and 12/100 inches. So the distance around this circle would be 25 and 12/100 inches. That would be like the string that you would be putting around the cup from the Circle Lab around. Now, if you don't use 3.14, and I believe the book uses the pi button. If I took my 8 and I just pushed the pi button on my calculator, 8 times pi, just the button, not 3.14, it's going to give me a slightly different answer If I push the pi button, it's going to give me 25 and 0.13. See, that's not a big difference, okay? It's just slightly different. So in the back of your book, if you're using 3.14 and you're not using the pi button, your answer will be slightly different, and that's okay. This is correct, okay? And this is correct, as long as it's really close. And of course, this is correct because this is my answer in terms of pi. Let's try another one. Okay, I have a circle. I'm asked to find the circumference, the distance around, and I'm given that this from the center halfway across is 6 inches. I know that's my radius. Okay, so that means I'm going to use this formula right here because they've given me my radius. So I'm going to go circumference is equal to 2 times my radius times, I'm going to use my pi symbol because I'm going to be answering in terms of pi. So my first answer is 12 pi inches. Okay, that's my answer in terms of pi. Next, I'm going to calculate it, 12 times, and I'm not going to use the pi button, I'm just going to use 3.14. Remember, if you use the pi button, it's going to be a slightly different answer, and that's okay. I'm going to do 12 times 3.14, and that gives me the circumference is 37 and 68/100 inch. Now, you have to be careful when you're doing the problems in your textbook because some of them will ask you to round it to the nearest tenth. Okay? This would be the correct answer, but if your book asks you to round it to the nearest tenth, then of course you would underline the tenths place and you would look at the number next to it. And this 8 would tell 6 to go up to 7. And so my answer to the nearest tenth would be this. So read what it's asking you to find. So here's a word problem. It says a circle has a circumference of 219 and 8/10 meters. What is the radius? Now, they don't give us a picture here, but they're telling us that we have a circumference that's that long, and they want us to find the radius. What is the radius? Now, remember, you always want to start with your formula. Well, we're going to substitute everything we're given into our formula in the correct place. Well, over here, okay, I know I need to find the radius, so I'm going to use this formula right here. But I need to substitute this into a different place than the first two practice problems that we did because this is the circumference. 219 and 8/10, that is my circumference. So I'm going to have to substitute that in right here. And it tells me to find the radius, so I'm going to use this formula. 2, radius is unknown, times r, and then 3.14 for pi. Now, 2 times 3.14, that's 6.28. Okay, I'm just simplifying each side before I undo this multiplication. I have 6 and 28/100 times the radius. That means I'm going to divide to undo that. Okay, that tells me that my radius is 219 0.8 divided by 219 and 8/10 divided by 6.28. My radius is 35 meters. Okay, don't forget your unit. So my radius is 35 meters. Now if I wanted to check that, I could plug it back into my formula. Circumference is equal to, actually I'm going to have the radius, 2 times 35 times 3.14. That should equal 219 and 8/10. 70 times 3.14. Aha! 219 8/10. All right, I want you to pause the video, and this time it says find the diameter of a dinner plate whose circumference is 19 inches. They want you to find the diameter, given that the circumference is 19 inches. Go ahead and practice this problem. Given the circumference, find the diameter. All right, let's see how you did. All right, 19 is my circumference, and I need to find the diameter, so I'm going to use this formula right here, and that's going to be 19 for the circumference is equal to some diameter times 3.14. Okay, I want to get that D by itself. I'm going to divide both sides by 3.14. That gives me the diameter by itself, 19 divided by 3.14 is 6.05, 6 5/100 inches. So the diameter would be 6 5/100 inches. How'd you do? Okay, moving on. What if I was asked to find the circumference of a semicircle? Okay, a semicircle is just another way to say half a circle. Let's think about when we have parts of a circle. Let's draw a nice circle. Doesn't have to be perfect. And let's cut it into fourths. So if I had parts of a circle, okay, depending on how much of a circle I had, okay, I would look at my circle that's cut into fourths and multiply it by that amount. Well, I can see that this circle right here represents half of the circle. They've given me 0.50 or 0.5. Now the circumference is only finding the outside of the circle. So I'm only going to be finding this distance halfway around the circle. I'm not finding this part right here. Now I look here and they've given me the radius. So I'm going to use this formula right here. So my circumference is going to be 2 times my radius, that's 14. But I have to cut this in half because I'm only given half a circle times my pi. So that's where this part comes in. If you're given half the circle, you have to multiply your radius times 2 times a half and then pi. So we're going to get our answer in terms of pi. I know that half of 14 is 7, and 7 times 2 is 14 pi. So 14 pi is my circumference in terms of pi. And then if I took 14 and multiplied it times 3.14, that would give me 43 96/100 of a yard halfway around the circle. Again, that's the blue right here. It does not represent any of this part of the circle. All right, now they give us this much of a circle and they want us to, and we're not, it says, again, he draws a semicircle. Let's cross that out. He draws a quarter of a circle. So Rondell draws a quarter of a circle. Okay? What is the circumference? Again, we're just finding this part of the circle. I want you to pause the video and find the circumference of this part of a circle. All right, let's see how you did. Now I know that this represents a quarter of a circle. They give me the radius right here. So I'm going to use this formula. Circumference is going to be equal to 2 times my radius. Again, I only have a quarter of a circle, so I have to put that in my calculation. A quarter of the circle, 1/4 of it, times pi. Well, I know 2 times 6 is 12, and 12, 1/4 of 12 is 3. So my answer in terms of pi is 3 pi inches. If I multiply my 3 times 3.14, my calculated answer is 9 42 inches. All right. Okay, last problem. This is one of your homework problems. It says a circular fountain at a park has a radius of 4 feet. The mayor wants to build a fountain with a radius that is quadruple of the current fountain. Find the circumference of the new fountain, round to the nearest tenth. Well, when I have a word problem, the first thing I want to do is I want to draw a picture to represent what I have. So here's my circular fountain. It has a radius of 4 feet. That's what the mayor has currently. But he wants to build a very large fountain that's quadruple. Remember, quadruple is just 4 times bigger. Quadruple the current fountain. So it has a radius that's quadruple. Well, if I'm going to draw, and this isn't going to be to scale, but if I'm going to draw a fountain with a radius that's quadruple, this radius right here is going to be 4 times larger than this radius. So this radius is going to be 16 feet. Okay, the entire radius is 16 feet. Find the circumference of the new fountain. Now you can go ahead and finish this problem. All right, good luck with your homework, and remember to email me with any questions that you may have.